Hey there, AG Beaver here. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's Thursday Night Thought. Tonight we're going to talk about how disappointment can be a bridge to the real you. And what does this even mean? First, I want to share with you the experience of how this week's message came in. So typically on a Sunday night or a Monday morning when I'm receiving the words for the message for the week, I light a candle and I set my intentions and quiet myself in that space and meditate. And in this experience, the candle went out. And so I thought, well, no big deal. I have another candle. I grabbed it, I put it in my holder, and I went to light the match. And then the match burned and went out. I thought, this is really weird. But as this is happening, I'm realizing that there's a message to what is going on. And so I set the new candle down, I light another match, and this time it lights. And these words come through. So I wanted you to have this visual in your mind of this old candle that had to go out in order for this new candle to be lit. And this is part of discovering the real you through disappointment. And these are the words. Disappointment of a vision, a dream, can leave you feeling confused or disheartened. Trust this awareness has a divine purpose, a heavenly indication of a necessary change of a plan or approach. With this awareness, new inspirations become evident and a new way will be revealed. Therefore, surrender old beliefs for new ways of thinking, and you shall see the real you ignite. Isn't that a powerful message and powerful visual? So I'm going to get really real with you this week, and I'm going to share with you my own disappointment that I was going through and how it is that I was reeling in this place of disappointment and getting to the real me. It was through a journaling process, so it's very personal, but I feel it has a lot of benefit for any of you who are experiencing disappointment right now, because we all as humanity experience disappointment on some level. Disappointment of a dream or disappointment of a vision. So think of something in those terms, okay? And you'll know what that is. But let's go through this together, because there's gold in what it is that I'm about to share with you. So as I was journaling, which this is bringing in a higher consciousness than myself and speaking to this part of myself and being questioned by this part of myself and answering things, this is what came in around this process. And I was shown very clearly that disappointment is not a stopping place, right? Because I'll be honest, this was upsetting. Part of this message kind of upset me on some level. Like, how is this a good thing? Okay, so the disappointment that I was dealing with specifically, to give you a little background, is 4 years ago, I had hired a publicity group to do some publicity with my book and my messaging and things like that. But at the time when I hired them, I knew it was the right choice to hire them, but it was the wrong timing to do a campaign. And so I put them off for the last 4 years until I got to a place where I felt some solidity in my message and what it is I was sharing. And I personally thought and had this vision that this was the missing link to getting my message and the awareness out there. And unfortunately, we're halfway through this publicity campaign, and I'm having to come to terms with the fact that it's a disappointment. It is not matching up to the dreams that I had of what this would do. So I'm feeling the disappointment, feeling upset. And I even wrote in my journal, and now you tell me this is a good thing? This is where it starts. And this part of me came in and said, it's not a stopping point. It's not an indicator to quit and give up the dream. Just because one treatment didn't work for the sickness, just because one person hurt you, you can't be in a relationship. Just because one guy cheated, they all cheat, just because you don't give up on the business adventure, the relationship, the health, all of those things that we deserve, right? The vision, the dream. No, it's going deeper as a heavenly indicator, a change of plan or approach. So let it go, and the sooner you do, something new will show up. And this new will fulfill the real you. Not the ego you, not the part of you that wants it to work out to prove or validate or fulfill some role, some mask you hide behind, some condition that you've placed on yourself or someone else, or some expectation that may or may not be yours. But the real you, the authentic, intimate parts of you that make you cry and make you burn with passion. Disappointment is the bridge of the ego to this part of yourself. And I'm like, okay. So it's worth evaluating what is causing the disappointment, right? So I was literally envisioning this bridge. I was envisioning what a bridge is, and it's getting from one side to the other. So that means we have to go in and we have to evaluate this, right? And there were 3 questions that came to me. And if you're doing this with me right now and have a pen and paper, or if you want to pause this video and come back to it later, this is the process that's going to be the application that actually walks us from one side of the bridge to the other. Because I believe this is way more than an inspirational message. This is about application in our lives. And so the first question that I was asked was, what are you disappointed about? And for me, it was very clear, because the campaign failed and it didn't bring in one connection. It didn't have any success like I thought it would, right? That was my disappointment. What's your disappointment? What are you disappointed about specifically? Then number 2, why is it disappointing? Now, this is a different type of question, because it's making you go deeper. And this part of me that spoke and said, because I wanted to prove in some way that this investment that I made was worthwhile, that paying for this publicity package had merit, right? So it was from this place of wanting to prove something, of gaining some kind of validation, which I know is not going to come from outside of me. But by writing this down, it allowed me to see that, to bring awareness to that, right? And then I wrote down number 3 is, how else is this disappointment affecting you right now? And then I had to get really clear on what else is it bringing up. And basically, it was bringing up other disappointments in my life. It was making me show that I was disappointed in myself and almost magnifying those things. And so it was this indication of pain. And I noticed at that point it was bringing in fear and regret and anger and almost depression and shame. And so this part of me goes, let me ask you, are any of these things making you feel spiritually free, the real you? And at that moment, I had to answer, no, it's not. So how is the disappointment a bridge to who you really are? Well, now you're made aware of what you want to let go and surrender, who you are not. And there's a beauty in knowing who you are not, because you know where you're starting from in order to get to the other side. And it was made me show so clearly that consciously, because I'm aware of who I am not and not wanting to give that any energy, it actually opens me up to attract new ways of thinking, new opportunities of who I really am, because I'm aware of who I am not. And in this igniting this part of ourselves, right? This part of the message that says it's a heavenly indication of a necessary change of a plan or approach. That's it. And with this awareness, new inspirations now become evident, and a new way will soon be revealed because we've let go of those past parts. And that's what happened for me this week, and that's what I desire for you in this process. Because the whole idea is once we're aware of what we are not, we can be open to who we really are. And that means it'll happen faster the sooner we let go of that old candle, right? And so I want to share with you a story of inspiration. A friend of mine, Christina, had posted on the Monday Mirror message this week her story of a similar experience, a disappointment. She had a vision of going to this conference and her plane was rerouted and delayed, and she ended up at the conference 2 days later than when it started. She'd missed the first 2 days of the conference. And rather than going into a place of disappointment, she recognized that disappointment was an opportunity, a heavenly redirection in that moment of something greater, something she could step into and still serve, right? And I find that the faster we can come into that kind of consciousness, the more we are able to feel our spiritual freedom, because then disappointment isn't something that traps us and keeps us spiritually who we are not. And the faster we come to terms with that and that awareness, the faster the things change. So I hope that this application has been helpful for you. And if it has, I pray that you share it with someone you love. Otherwise, I look forward to sharing our next Thursday Night Thought together.